How'd you sleep? I slept great. And I woke up quick. I think there's a lot to be said about how much I have to eat before I go to bed, and how well I sleep and how easily I wake up. So it's something I'm going to be paying attention to. Okay, so today is September 11th, 2020. Let's just sit with that for just a second. September 11th, 2020. It's been 19 years since the towers fell. And I mean, I guess I'll just start with the stanza for today, and I guess go from there. The stanza is pretty interesting. From ancient times, so it's the 45th stanza of The Art of Peace. From ancient times, deep learning and valor have been the two pillars of the path. Through the virtue of training, enlighten both body and soul. All right, so from ancient times, deep learning and valor. So when I hear that, I think about the fact that what we experienced on September 11th is something that has happened to human beings forever. I mean, it was unique for the United States. It was unique in that time period. It was unique for this generation. But in the context of a society being faced or confronted with a tremendous tragedy caused by kind of dark forces, in the grand scheme of things, that's not unique. We're not the only culture that has had something like this happen to it. That said, the tragedy itself was shocking. It was totally unexpected. It took everybody off guard. And the first thing I remember is the willingness of our first responders and of Americans in general to just go into the fray, move into the space of fear and doubt and worry, and do the best they could to help the people in the towers. That was just it's just such a constant kind of memory for me, is watching those images. And I remember there's an image of a firehouse that I think was coming in from New Jersey. And they, of course, got right on their trucks and went straight in. And so this concept of valor, I think, is very well rooted in, I'm moving ahead a little bit. The concept of deep learning and valor coming from something like this, I think, is worth exploring a little bit. And so an expression of valor there, the willingness to go in, the willingness of these firefighters and the police to, go in to try to rescue people, even while the towers were still burning. I mean, that's very much American. Deep in our culture is a clear indicator of the two things that kind of mark an American kind of warrior, and that's valor and sacrifice. Those are if you look at Arlington from the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., you'll see these two massive horses. One kind of on the left side, and on the right side are other two massive horses. Those four horses are called the Arts of War and the Arts of Peace. The Arts of War go into Arlington Cemetery, and those two horses, both with the god Mars on top, are signified by valor and sacrifice. And those are the two kind of pillars of our kind of society as we kind of look at what it takes to maintain our society. So that's the side of valor, right? So in my mind, there's nothing really new about Americans willing to go into as dark a place as there could possibly be in order to save fellow Americans and to do what's right. Oftentimes we will move into that space in a way that is not well-founded, but we're willing to do it. Always. That's just something I think that's very American. So that's the valor side. Now the deep learning side, I think, is worth speaking about too. So You got the pillars, or you got the pillars of war, the arts of war, those two horsemen, and then you've got the art of peace. Like, I never knew this, but this is true. I mean, these statues are right there, these big bronze horses. The art of peace is harmony and literature, harvest and music, and what that signifies is that you can't just have the valor in the sacrifice part by itself. That by itself is not enough. There's the kind of the outward facing tip of the spear, but there's the rest of the spear that gives the spear its value. Without that, the tip of the spear is just something pointy. But with something to defend, something to protect, the valor becomes really a big deal. So anyway, the deep learning part. What I find really fascinating about the whole experience of September 11th and subsequent almost 2 decades following is the way we have grown in our understanding of what it takes to take care of warriors. We sent our warriors into battle in an attempt to kind of make sure something like September 11th would never happen again. And so in the process, we ended up at war in Afghanistan. We're still at war in Afghanistan. And we ended up in war in Iraq. And the stuff in Iraq is still, it's still significant. We still have service members over in Iraq. In the process of being at war for about 19 years, we came to the limits of our health care in the context of healing warriors, healing the damage done by war. And we got very good at healing broken bones, bullet wounds, explosions. We got really good at armor. We got really good at body armor. We got really good at armored vehicles. We developed some very great techniques for keeping warriors, for the most part, whole and alive, even when they hit tremendous, explosions, bullets, violence, whatever. That's been consistent, and the development of prostheses and techniques for managing that kind of thing has really just excelled. What is also excelled is the mental health aspect. This is the deep learning part. The mental health aspect would not have evolved the way it has evolved inside the United States without September 11th. I think this is like one of those ironies, this thing where, if you take a hard hit, but you learn from it. And as a society, we've moved forward in the realm of non-traditional techniques for managing mental and behavioral health in ways that never would have happened. It's really interesting to think about that. And so, I wouldn't be here were it not for the military kind of exploring and ultimately embracing the practice of mindfulness. I learned mindfulness at the VA. And so the development of the practice, the money that went into the practice to fund it, and now the fact that it's there, it's accredited. Mindfulness would not be accredited as a resource for managing mental health without September 11th. That's a fact. And, there's something to be said for that. It's a tragedy that September 11th happened. And it'll forever be a scar on our nation. But we've really learned a lot from September 11th. And there's something to be said about that, and we honor that. It's important to honor that. And so anyway, the stanza says, from ancient times, deep learning and valor have been the two pillars of the path. So, we are always going to have to marshal our valor in the face of challenges. It's just always going to be the case. But what we have to always be mindful of, and we really need to just keep this always in the forefront of our mind, is that we've got to learn from it. We've really got to learn from it. It's just as important as you could possibly be to learn from it. And so what do you do by learning from it? Well, you have to train it. We have to be very clear about how we encourage our future warriors and our citizens to be prepared for challenges, especially in the realm of mental and behavioral health. And while we've learned a lot, we've got a long way to go. As much as we have learned from Iraq and Afghanistan, we are also really burdened by and falling deeper into the challenges, the deep challenges that are faced by war posturing. You know, soldiers on base at Fort Hood, for example. Fort Hood's a huge military base in Texas, are having a heck of a time. And I know it's not just Fort Hood. We've got soldiers all over the country that are not in a good place. The behavior of soldiers on bases has taken a dramatic turn. For example, just in Fort Hood, they've had more violent crime, homicide amongst soldiers than they've had in years. And it's striking, it's fast, it's come about quickly, and it's just devastating the military community. So we are in a situation here where we've learned a lot from September 11th, but we're also suffering because of how we handled September 11th. And that's something that has to be made kind of clear as well. You know, there can't just be rah-rah patriotism. There has to be valor, which is willingness to go into the dark places. But there has to also be deep learning. We have to be learning always and sharing those lessons. And then we have to be motivating people to train. And we have to do it in a way that makes sense for people. We have to make the training significant for people to want to do. We have to make the training understandable for people to realize that, oh, this makes sense, or this can help me. But we really have to just understand. We have to understand that the violence and the war and the kind of the positioning and posturing of violence and war and willingness to go to war is a very, very dangerous position to sustain. Being valorous, going in, being courageous, going into the fight is one thing. But maintaining a posture of violence and war, or using violence and war as the means of problem solving, is unsustainable in every conceivable way. So we have to address that. We have to address it. And the last sentence before we actually get into the training is, we have to enlighten our body and our soul. Right now, we've got a situation here where the country is at absolute odds with itself. I've made the argument that it's like we're a mind in a fight with the body. And it's of course unsustainable. The mind can't exist without the body can't exist without the mind. But nonetheless, we are still in that battle. And many of us are still holding on to deeply held beliefs about kind of how things should be, as opposed to navigating and interacting with how things are. And in the world of just your own self, if you as an individual are stuck in the mindset of, if it could be this, if I could just get back to this, if life could just be this way, if you're challenged by that notion, you know personally what it feels like and can kind of relate to what the country's going through. We've got it in our heads that if life could only be a particular way, then everything would be all right. The problem with that is that there's no place to get to. There's no place to, boom, I'm here. It doesn't exist. There's no arriving and, the position is I think valid. It's valor and deep learning. Everything changes. Things pop up that you never would have imagined. Things evolve in ways that you cannot conceive. So an attempt to make things be the right way is doomed to fail the moment you begin. And this is the enlightenment part. Okay, this is what it means to become enlightened. To become enlightened is to become free of the burdens of kind of expectation or the status quo, or that right over the hill is perfection. Enlightenment is letting that go. To be enlightened isn't to leave the planet and go into some woo-woo place. To be enlightened is to recognize that the things that we often articulate as an ideal are transparent. And that what really matters, what really lasts, is the kind of willingness to be brave, which is valor. And learning, really just learning. And learning from more than simply intelligence, like not just learning from memorization or facts, but learning from, deep awareness of what's inside of you. And, I'm optimistic about our nation. I really am. I see us 19 years from September 11th, and I think now we are finally in the throes of kind of the conflict that we have within ourselves. And there's no whitewashing it. There's no sugarcoating it. We are in a conflict for ourselves. What we are as Americans. And that's good. It's not a bad thing. It's a little bit scary. It's definitely scary, but it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. And we can do it. We can make it through this time. And we will make it through this time. It's going to be hard, but we'll make it through. So that's what I want to say about September 11th on this anniversary. I encourage you to train, right now with me when we do these 4 bells. But I'll invite you at the end, so I'm gonna encourage you to offer a moment of gratitude for any service member or first responder that died today. But I also want you to just kind of open your heart to all those that have been impacted by the consequences of this war. And, wherever that takes your mind, when I say all those that have been impacted, I encourage you to go there with an open heart. And, that's one of the things that I've really learned from the kind of the deep learning that I've had to go through since September 11th and since my deployment to Iraq is that the only thing that really matters in terms of kind of keeping myself as bright and clear and helpful and loving as possible is an open heart. That's the only thing that I can really give as a, like, what do you practice mindfulness for? Or why are you doing all this stuff? Well, I'm doing this stuff to keep my heart open. That's the most important thing, keeping your heart open. If you can keep your heart open, the rest of the stuff will kind of fall in place. But if your heart starts to close and you start kind of identifying, I can open my heart for this, but I can't open my heart for that. I can be open-hearted for this, but I'm closed to that. Anytime you're kind of playing around with the heart, the source of what gives us life and what makes life worth living. Anytime you kind of turn that on and off without kind of knowing or even knowingly, it's a dangerous move. It's a very dangerous move. And the reason why it's dangerous is because a closed heart and a couple experiences that really rock you can be enough to put you in the dark side. And the dark side is a bad place. It's a place of demons. It's a place of little voices that have explanations for things. It's a place of little voices for who to blame. It's a place for quick fixes. It's a place for darkness. And I say that without kind of like, I'm not playing. Like I just don't think people appreciate what happens when you get to a dark place. And if you've never been there and you've never experienced what's called in the medical realm suicidal ideations, if you've never experienced that, it's a terrifying thing. And it's terrifying for its clarity. It's terrifying for the ease with which terrible thoughts and ideas show up in the mind as perfectly valuable options. It's a scary thing. So that's why the heart opening exercise is so important. That's why mindfulness, and that's why this practice that we do every day is so important, is to help you open your heart and to keep that, right on, in front of your face, so that you're always aware and you always know what to do if your heart starts to kind of close down on you. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Let's cue up some comfort. So get yourself into as comfortable as a position as you can, and we'll go into the practice. So the sound of the first bell. Sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. So if you've got your eyes open, feel free to look around wherever you are, looking for light and shadow. What we're doing in first bell is bringing the mind into focus on something taking place in the present moment. So light and shadow and sense of curiosity, right? So these are all little tricks that you can kind of use to get your mind to focus on something in the present moment instead of being off in some story. And so once you've kind of explored around a little bit with your eyes, close your eyes and tap into what you can hear. And just open your kind of awareness to, what do I hear right now? Where do I hear what I hear? Once you've established a kind of an awareness of what you can hear, come in a little bit closer and notice what you can feel. So you might easily feel the fabric of your clothing against your skin. You might even feel a little breeze on your skin, maybe from an AC vent or a fan. You might even be able to feel a temperature change or temperature difference between skin that's open to the air or covered by clothing. Now, come in closer to taste and smell. Taste and smell. So now we're putting our attention on something really close in. What we smell and what we taste. So part of doing that means that what you've assessed from far out, right, your sight picture, what you hear around you, what you feel close in, and even closer in with smell and taste, is that the area that you're in is totally safe. And it's not safe because of, something magical. It's safe because you've assessed the moment. You've assessed the moment. And so you can allow yourself to kind of slow down further and yield to the moment. Yield to the moment. Let your body slow down and settle. So now let's move into second bell. At second bell, we go into the body. So the body offers us an opportunity to spend more time in the present moment and to align the body in a way that is appropriate to what you're feeling right now. So the first thing you pay attention to is what's beneath you. It's called your ground. And so you notice your seat, what's under your feet, what's under your legs, and just noticing that what's beneath you is stable, solid, you can rely on it. From there, you move up into the region of your tailbone and your sit bones. This is the region of the base of your spine. Tailbone, sit bones. And I encourage you to just kind of shift, like make a move. Like feel the body shift left, feel the body shift right on that kind of your seat. And just get that in a place where you like it. From there, move up to your belly region. Belly region, belly button region, or also known as the core. Okay, move up there and let it out, right? So let your belly out. If you're holding in any way at the belly region, just kind of let that region get soft. You'll tighten up the slack on the next region of your body that we go and look at. But just kind of relax there. Relax at the belly, and then from there move up to the heart space. So the heart space includes the shoulder blades. So feel free to kind of pull your shoulder blades back and down. Notice the impact that has on your chest space. And just feel the way your upper body connects to the core, which connects to the pelvis, which connects to the ground. So it's the main body of your spine. You've just aligned the main body of your spine, which is very important for lots of reasons, but one of them being that you've aligned yourself in a structurally neutral way, and you've also opened up the space for your diaphragm. So the diaphragm is the part of you that kind of breathes your lungs. So when we go into the third bell and focus on breath, this will be setting you up for success. So we've got two more spaces to kind of be aware of. So come up to your throat and your jaw. If you haven't softened your jaw yet today, do that now. Imagine your teeth and your jaw just getting softer. No tension there, no clenching. Imagine the tongue in the back of your throat flattening out. And just feel the entire throat. Don't forget to feel the inside of your throat. You might be able to feel things like the air moving up and down your throat, or if you took a swallow, you could easily feel that. Just noticing all the things that are taking place in the present moment. And then from here, let's come to the face, noticing the muscles of the face. So if your kind of brow is furrowed in any way, soften that. There's always an opportunity to soften the muscles behind the eyes. There's always an opportunity to soften the cheeks, the jaw again, and then even the lips and the chin have little muscles that are very easily softened, just with your attention. And just feel the whole of your spine, the whole of your alignment, the whole of your body. And let's move on to third bell. So third bell comes to the breath. So just start by setting a baseline. By that I mean just noticing your breath as it is now. Don't change it yet, just notice your breathing. And then when you're ready, go to a maximum inhale and exhale. Just feel the whole body expand fully and then release. Now do that a couple more times, but make the exhale a little bit longer than the inhale. So really concentrate on time. Make the exhale a little bit longer than the inhale. Notice how you have to consciously do that. You have to kind of think about it. Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to think about the sides of your body, and I want you to imagine breathing sideways. See if you can feel the sides move on the breath. Same thing. Max inhale and exhale more slowly, and really feel the sides move. Okay, now this time focus on forward and backward, forward and backward. So really feel the body expand forward and the back expand backwards as you breathe. If you put your mind on it, you might be able to feel it. Slow down the exhale. Okay, last one. Now up and down. So see if you can feel the body expand up, almost even the spine, like an accordion, expanding up on the inhale, and then on the exhale, feel it come back to neutral. Now, for the rest of the time, we're going to take one more minute. I want you to focus on feeling all three kind of experiences: side to side, forward, back, and up, down, in succession. So you'll feel each part as you inhale. You'll feel the side to side, front to back, up, down, and then you'll notice that, and then you exhale that out and watch those directions kind of come back to neutral. So we'll do that for about a minute, and then we'll move into fourth bell. Now here, if you want, you can put your hand on your heart. So I like to put my hand kind of underneath towards the bottom left of my heart, put my right hand there, and put my left hand kind of at the top of my heart. So I'm trying to cover the entirety of my heart with my hands. And I'm just looking to feel it. I'm just looking to feel the beating, the pulsation under my hands. And now from here, in your own mind, silently to yourself, just offer gratitude in a way that's meaningful for you in any context, for the service members, first responders, all members of that community that have played a role in service and sacrifice to the nation on the day of and beyond September 11th. And in your mind, you can kind of imagine that the gratitude is kind of like cultivating an open-heartedness, and that it's almost like it's a collection of goodwill that you have within you. And by all means, feel free to kind of keep that goodwill close to your heart and maybe share it with your family. And feel free to let this be where your practice ends. It's absolutely cool. But if you want, and if you're interested in kind of moving a little bit deeper, compassion offers us an opportunity to take that goodwill that we cultivated in gratitude and share it with those that are suffering. And so one of the things that's important to keep in mind is that the suffering that we've experienced is beyond what we're able to understand. And so if we can, for just a moment, just open ourselves to the suffering, not just close at home, but maybe the suffering that has been kind of experienced since September 11th beyond just what's close at home. And so take that kind of expression of compassion, because what compassion does is it acknowledges suffering. It acknowledges suffering and it offers goodwill. So in your mind, please feel free to acknowledge any aspect of suffering in any conceivable way. And when you're ready, offer the goodwill inside your heart to those that are suffering. And that can be anything that you think, any way you want to make it. But offer your compassion in a way that's meaningful for you. And then you finish the practice by taking a breath and on the exhale, letting your hands float down. So read the stanza again and finish up. From ancient times, deep learning and valor have been the two pillars of the path. Through the virtue of training, enlighten both body and soul. We've come a long way since September 11th. We've got a long way to go. Thank you for sharing this time with me and practicing. I'd love to hear how September 11th, 19 years later, is being experienced by you and what it's doing for your heart. So feel free to share in the comments. Today's a big day. I've got a lot of programs that I'm working with today, especially with George Mason University, so I'm excited for that. Welcome back, football. Washington plays on Sunday. Can't wait. Hope you have a nice weekend. All right, armor down. See you later.